talking about Joe Madden. He came on with Spiegel and Bruce on Saturday, and he wasn't
Yep.
100% sure about the plan of everything that's being discussed in Arizona. So that's our discussion here for the A block. We're starting to now hear some pushback on those plans, not just from Madden, but some of the players as well. So let's have a deep dive into that, and then eventually Cole's going to wrap, and then Cole's going to tee us up for an obit that we're going to pay some respect to Mr. Beckert, who passed away yesterday. So we're going to have some sound from him. We got him. We interviewed him actually, I think in the last year. We're trying to find a date for a Ron Santo documentary that we're doing. So we got like an hour-long interview with him. So it's really good. So we're going to run some of that sound here in the A block, but you guys won't see it, but it'll be in when we post. So that's what we got for the A block. Let's start with Lynn here, Cole. We'll start with Lynn. Or actually, let me take that back. Let's start with Matt and then go to Bruce because those guys got the interview. So let's start with Matt,
Okay.
then go Bruce, and then we'll go Lynn. Again, I'll traffic you guys out.
Yep. Matt, Bruce, Lynn.
Please. So, Kevin, whenever you're ready, just give me a Cole single. All right, you ready, Cole?
Yep.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, come one, come all. Another edition of Cubs 360 presented by Miller Lite is on the air. I'm Cole Wright at your service. And this week, it's 80s week. We're going to take a stroll down memory lane and relive all the teams from that decade. We're going to focus on 1984. That's to come later on in the program. But until then, let's meet the team. Now, he's covered baseball in the city of Chicago for 30-plus years. You hear him over on 670 The Score. It's the man. He's a mainstay on Cubs 360. It's Bruce Levine. And when we're talking about longevity, well, it'll be his 16th season in the booth on the call alongside JD for the Northsiders. There he is right there. It's Len Casper. Len, thanks for playing as always. And since we were talking about the score earlier, you can also hear this man on 670 The Score. Lovely red shirt today. It's showing power and aggressiveness, just like Eldrick Tiger Woods. It's Matt Spiegel, ladies and gentlemen. And when we talk about staying busy, Bruce and Matt, we know how busy those two gentlemen are. They have a show on the Score. It's called Inside the Clubhouse, and who they tracked down on Saturday in the most recent installment? Well, former Cubs skipper and current Angels manager Joe Madden. And Joe, he had some comments when it came to Major League Baseball's plan about playing in Arizona. And here's what he had to say, because he's still down there in the Grand Canyon State, and he was getting ready to get his Angels ready for the season before the shutdown on March 12th. Now, he spoke out against the Arizona plan that was proposed. That was when Major League Baseball said that teams would be quarantined while they played the entire season without fans in that desert heat. Now, here's what
Just go ahead whenever you're ready.
So your thoughts on Joe's thoughts. Matt, I'll start with you since you were one half of the interview.
You got me?
No, I did not. I didn't see it. What happened?
Video whole froze. We got to do that all over.
Gotcha.
Whole froze right there at the end.
So, Cole, I don't think there's a good edit. Let's just pick that up from the top.
There's not. We got to.
So let me know when you're ready, Cole.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, and just like that, welcome to the show. Another edition of Cubs 360 is on the air. We're presented by Miller Lite, and as always, I'm Cole Wright, and this right here, folks, it's 80s week. So we're going to celebrate teams from the 80s all week long, that and much more ahead. But until then, let's get some of these intros out of the way, because this man has covered baseball in Chicago for 30-plus years. You hear him on 670 The Score. It's Bruce Levine. Bruce, good to see you on a Monday. And when it comes to longevity, it'll be his 16th season alongside Jim Deshaies, JD in the booth, Len Casper. back on the show once again. And also from 670 The Score in a lovely red shirt, just like Eldrick Tiger Woods, it's Matt Spiegel. Now, Matt, we know that you and Bruce stay busy. You guys have a show over on The Score called Inside the Clubhouse. And most recently, you caught up with the former Cubs skipper and current Halos manager, Joe Madden, who had some thoughts about playing in Arizona when it comes to Major League Baseball's current plan. Now, of course, he was getting ready to get his Halos ready. That's before the shutdown on March 12th. And he spoke out against that plan in Arizona, which was proposed by Major League Baseball, which would see teams quarantined while they played out the entire season without fans in the desert heat. Here's what Joe had to say. Let's listen up. All right, Matt. So we heard what Joe Madden had to say. What are your thoughts on Joe's thoughts?
Well, I understand where Joe's coming from. First of all, it was great to talk to him. His normal state of calm optimism was actually genuinely inspiring in these bizarre times that we're in. But I understand where he's coming from. He wants players to be ready, wants coaches to be ready, wants everyone to be on board together and be timed out right when they get going. So he wants to slow down. But Joe also wants to get at least 100 games in. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I disagree with him that anything less than that would be enough to have a championship caliber season. If we're in a position where we're going to have to only play 40 or 50, that's fine by me. And increasingly, I think that's fine by a lot of people. But I understand where Joe's coming from in wanting everyone to be ready together and on the same page.
Yeah, Matt, I couldn't disagree with you more about 40 or 50 games. I agree with you on the passion about getting back to the game 100%, but some truncated form where it's a lot less than that. Joe's main concern was playing in the 100-degree heat there for 4.5 months and how that would wear on players and you wouldn't get the best out of them. The injury factor would be huge after a while, according to him, and also the fact that no fans in the stands would take away the energy from the game. And I'm on board with him, but again, we all have to be flexible during these times. As Matt said, we want to get back to baseball in the worst way. We don't want baseball to be the worst way.
Yeah, I understand Joe's concerns, and I think there are a lot of kind of micro problems with playing in Arizona. One would be the weather, for sure. Number two would be if families are not allowed to be there. I think that's an enormous problem for a lot of players who have already spoken out that being without their families for 4 to 4.5 months would be an issue. I think the no fan part of this is a bigger issue than people think. There's a novelty to getting baseball back and being on the air on television and radio. But I think after a week and a half, the fact that there are no fans in the ballpark really takes a lot of the energy away. This is not instructional league baseball. This is big league baseball. And I do worry a little bit that if we get too far away from the, quote, big league nature of what this sport is all about, I just don't want to diminish the quality of the product too much. It could be possible that the only way to play this year is without fans for the entire season, whatever that is. And I think you have to make a calculation. Is it worth it?
I think that answer is going to end up being yes in terms of worth it. I think the answer is going to be yes in terms of worth it if we're only looking at 40 or 50 games. I think both of those end up in this bucket of, do you want baseball or not? Like if our only choices are no fans, if our only choice is a 40 or 50 game season followed by an expanded playoffs, then I think you'll want that. The thing is, this year is going to be odd no matter what. It's going to be strange. It's always going to have a massive asterisk astride it. And so whatever has to be done in order to get baseball, I think is what we're going to all have to end up being ready to say yes to.
Yeah, players playing in empty stadiums, you'll be able to hear every single thing that rattles around like a tin can. If there's a dog that's in the stadium and it's barking, you're going to hear that dog. And if there's people out there and they're whispering, you're going to hear that as well. Bruce, how big is that fan element for players from what you've heard from the guys that are on the field for 162?
It's enormous, and we've all been around games when we've covered games where there were few people in the stands, and it's a different thing. There's no energy. You can hear things from the players. It's more like exhibition baseball, and I think it's right that after a while, with no fans in the stands, the energy would come right out of the game, and it would be just an exhibition season. I don't see that working.
And I'll tell you another thing about no fans, guys. There's no ticket revenue. There's no parking revenue. There's no concession revenue. So for Major League Baseball to pull this off, I believe the union at some point is going to have to agree not only to a pay cut, but a pay cut maybe per game. In that, let's say a guy is generally, his contract pays him $27,000 per game. He may be asked to make 18 to 20,000 per game. That's where the super agents like Scott Boras come in. And they may decide that not playing at all this year could be more important on a principal level than taking any sort of pay cut. And I'm not sure the individual teams can pay their players the full freight if we play with no fans. So keep that in mind as we move along.
Boy, the truth is often distressing these days, isn't it? Back to talking to Joe for a moment, if I can. Just his normal state of optimism, I mentioned, was so inspiring. Usually he says he hits the off season and he has time but no energy. Then the season comes and he has energy, but he doesn't have time to do anything for himself. Right now, he has both the energy and the time. He's taking bike rides around Arizona with a GoPro camera on, recording his own thoughts as he goes. It genuinely helped me have a better day here during the quarantine. So we're going to miss having had Joe around like we did these last 5 years.
Well, everyone currently has plenty of time on their hands, and once baseball gets back to normalcy, everyone should have plenty of energy as well. Now, some sad news to bring to you before we step aside here, because former Cubs infielder Glenn Beckert, the former Gold Glover and four-time All-Star, he passed away at the age of 79 years old. Now, Beckert, he played for the Cubs for 9 seasons, and he especially loved playing close to home and family in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Listen up. Now, after his playing days concluded, Glenn was a familiar sight at Wrigley Field and numerous Cubs conventions, and he always had a memory to share of his time off the field. Son of a gun. I should have said that was a Cubs statement. My mistake. Is there an edit point?
Yeah, just right after the soundbite.
Yeah.
All right, no doubt. Let's retake. My apologies, guys. 3.
All good. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Here's the Cubs statement on the passing of Beckert, and I quote, "After his playing days concluded, Glenn was a familiar sight at Wrigley Field and numerous Cubs conventions, and he always had a memory to share of his time on and off the field with his beloved teammates. We offer our deepest condolences to Glenn's daughters, Tracy Seaman and Dana Stark, his longtime partner, Mary Bruce Stanley, and his many, many friends." Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. We're back after this.
Good stuff, Cole. Thank you. Good segment, guys.
Sorry about that.
Was that your dog, Matt?
No, they're my
No,
dogs. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
No. It was fine.
Yeah.
No, that's why.
That's
why I love
it. The only way I can be
It was all good.
looks good is to risk occasional dogs barking in the background.
No,
Sorry.
it was all
Cole's ad
good.
lib was money.
Yeah, that's what the best way to, if anything ever happens, just make fun of it first before anything can happen.
Yeah. We're going to have a cat in the picture at some point here as well. So
Nice.
just home living.
I could offer an 8-year-old if necessary, but I'm trying to avoid that.
All good.
You got-
All good, guys.
you got
Keep
an 8-year-old
working
and
it.
cats.
Yeah.
Blake, Santini here. How are you?
And Malik, just to be sure, back on camera with Cubs 360, and then tee up on camera with the proposed, MLB with another proposal for 2020 that's doing away with the alignments, and then we go to the full screen.
Excuse me, Cole. Sorry about that. I was talking to Santini. Just would you
Oh, no doubt.
want to go through the traffic right now?
Yeah. Just coming back on camera, teeing up, hey, welcome back to the show, and Major League Baseball with another proposal for 2020, doing away with the alignments, teams based on spring training locations. That's how things would go down. And then we go to the full screen.
No, that is the full screen. What you're reading. And then we just come out on
'cause it
camera.
says-
So
Go
ahead.
Says on camera before we get to the full screen. So I tee all that up, and then we get to the full screen. Like, here's a look at the NL Central, what the Cubs division would look like
That's
under this
fine.
format.
That's fine.
Okay,
We can
and then
do
we
it
come
that
back
way.
on camera, which brings us to our refreshing take of the day. The Cubs would benefit from this format, guys. What do you think?
Great. We can do it that way. I'm cool. I'm
Gotcha.
cool with that.
Yep,
So
no doubt.
Kevin, just stick on a single for Cole, and then he's going to read, and then you're going to see him natural when he reintroduces the guys. Just go to the fourth shot, and we're off and running.
Yeah. Who do you want me to tee up first? Would the Cubs benefit from
Let's
this
go to
format?
Lynn
What do you
first.
think?
Let's go to Lynn.
Len? Okay.
Yep.
And
We'll go
then
Lynn, Matt, Bruce.
gotcha.
Okay. Hold on. So you get on that traffic,
And then the
Kevin? Yeah.
Is the Chris Bryant read on camera about the congratulations?
Yeah, just do that on camera on the fourth shot. Just a nice little, just real quick.
Okay.
Just do it real quick.
Okay.
No, he's not
Okay.
reteeing everybody, Kevin. Just going to, yeah. We're just a natural segment like we've always done. Not like we were doing with Masters. All right. You good, Kev?
All good.
Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, sticking and moving here on Cubs 360 presented by Miller Lite. Now, Major League Baseball, they have yet another proposal to get the season underway for 2020. Now, it would do away with the American League and National League alignments just for the 2020 season. Now, the teams, they would be realigned based on their spring training locations. So let's take a closer look at how everything would go down this season. Now, the Cactus League, the Northeast, that would include the Cubs, the A's, as well as 3 NL West teams. That would be the Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies. So we'll see how things could potentially shake out for the Chicago Cubs. Now it is time for our Miller Lite refreshing take of the day, and the Cubs would benefit from this format. Hot, refreshing, whatever the take is, call it whatever you like. Len, what do you think about this? How would the Cubs fare if things were realigned this way?
I would say the division as a whole would not be as competitive top to bottom, but I would argue the Oakland A's right now may be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in all of baseball on paper. I really like their chances in the American League West. That's number one. So I guess if I had to pick that division or the Cubs NL Central currently, I probably would pick that one. And I don't mean to be a stick in the mud here, guys, but here are 2 other possibilities for divisions. I don't see this happening. The Dodgers, the Reds, the White Sox, and the Indians all in the same division. The reason Joe Madden doesn't want to play in the Cactus League is because the Angels would be in that division. And then the Nationals, the Astros, the Cardinals, and the Mets all in one division over in Florida. I'm not so sure in terms of competitive balance. That's too many really good teams in one division for, I think, baseball's tastes.
Yeah, that Grapefruit League East is going to be nuts, Len. You're right. But in terms of where the Cubs are, look, the Oakland A's have won 97 games 2 years in a row. That's more than either the Brewers or Cardinals have won in that span. Billy Beane has been to the playoffs 11 times out of 21 years. And don't sleep on the Diamondbacks, who won 85 games and added Madison Bumgarner, have a very smart front office. So while the Giants are in a rebuild mode and the Rockies may have backslid a bit, this would not be a cakewalk by any stretch. I agree with Len on the overall strength of the Oakland A's, who usually go under the radar.
Look, if you're going to have the Cubs in a division where everybody's playing in 100-degree temperature, maybe the youngest teams are the ones that are going to benefit the most. Maybe those are the ones that are going to win a division in a truncated season like we're going to have. But, I don't, again, this is interesting exhibition type baseball. Can you imagine the Cubs and the Cardinals playing for the World Series? Okay. Where would they file? Who would be the American League loser? Would you have a National League loser and a National League winner? Again, I'm for baseball, but you're going to have to call it like it is. It's going to be an exhibition season.
Yeah, and the other issue, and I know I'm sure they're working it out with the computers right now, is that the initial idea when we resumed or started the regular season was that we would pick up the schedule whatever day that was. So if it's June 15th, if the Cubs were playing the Mets that day, you just carry the schedule ahead and then maybe tack on at the end. With this idea, you would really have to write up a brand new schedule in both Florida and in Arizona. And quite honestly, if you do have to realign, you want to do it as geographically as possible. So there will be some unevenness, if that's a word, with some of these divisions. And it's intriguing to talk about for sure, but let's see if it comes to fruition.
Matt, I didn't even think about the ramifications of a National League versus National League World Series or an American League versus an American League World Series. I mean, how crazy would that be if it were Cubs Cardinals or, say, for whatever reason, it were the Rays and the Royals?
Yeah, no, all things like that would be bizarre. But hey, remember when the Brewers swapped leagues? Remember when the Astros swapped leagues? The things change, and I maintain my solid stance that this year is going to be really weird, no matter what. I focus on some of the good parts of this plan, which would be the idea of games beginning as early as 11 o'clock Eastern time during the day, and then starting as late as 7 o'clock Eastern time, or even 8 o'clock Eastern time with the games out west. Think of wall-to-wall baseball and what providers like Marquee and others would have to offer, which is baseball all day long. That could be fun.
Yeah, it would be interesting baseball, but nonetheless, it would be a different way of watching the game, especially watching guys sweating it out at 100-degree temperature around 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Phoenix around July. I don't want to poo-poo anything because I want baseball back as much as anyone else. But these are just, again, we have to remind people these are models, okay? And they're talking about a lot of different models. I know there's owners that believe that they're not interested in these games at all. In fact, if there's not going to be fans involved, I know at least a couple owners who really will vote against any baseball whatsoever. So it's all over the map right now. This model is interesting. It keeps us going. It keeps it conversational. And that's what we need right now.
Yeah, like Matt said, it's not the craziest thing. I remember when Milwaukee was an American League team. I remember going to County Stadium, getting bleacher seats for $5, and I still have a Jay Buhner batting practice ball to prove it from a Brewers and Mariners matchup from once upon a time. Now, guys, we at the Marquee Sports Network, we want to send a heartfelt, sincere congratulations to the former MVP, Chris Bryant, because he and his wife, Jessica, they welcomed their first child into this world last week, and it's a young boy, Kyler Lee Bryant. Congratulations to KB and his wife Jessica on the birth of their first child. And KB, he told Taylor McGregor that his purpose in life was to be a father. So we will see how everything shakes out. Once again, congratulations. And there's still more to come right here on Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite, including a trade that helped the Cubs end one of the longest playoff droughts in Major League history. A celebration of 1984 as 80s Week rolls on right here on the Marquee Sports Network. That's next, right here on Cubs 360. Don't move.
Good segment, guys. So Cole, here you're just reading. You should just be reading your promo first, and then we're just going to have a quick chat on the 80s. Let's just go to Bruce first.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll go Bruce, then we'll go Lynn, and then we'll go Matt. Guys, you'll have about 30 seconds each here. We're just pretty heavy. So about 30 seconds each. Let's just promote our 80s week here. We'll go Bruce, Lynn, Matt, right down the line.
So coming back on the full screen.
You guys can go about 45 each. You guys can go about 45 each. Hey, Cole, or excuse me, Kevin, you good?
Good. Yeah, you just want the if he's coming out with the read, you want me to start on the 4 shots to move it along?
There's a lot of copy.
Sure.
I mean, that would be.
I mean, it's fine. It's going to get it covered in post anyways. It's all good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite, and it's 80s week for Cubs Classics here on Marquee Sports Network. And Monday, you can catch the 84 NL East clincher versus the Pirates from 84. And Tuesday, it's the first installment of Night Baseball at Wrigley Field. That's 1988. Then we'll close things out with a trio of games from 1989. And Wednesday, watch Greg Maddux and Oral Hershiser duel on the mound. Thursday, Andre Dawson, the Hawk, providing some late-game heroics versus Cincinnati. And Friday, it's Chicago battling back from 9 runs down against the Astros. And this series presented by Prevagen with a new game each weeknight at 7 p.m. Central Time right here on Marquee Sports Network. And back here with the guys, Bruce, Len, and Matt. And gang, that first Cub team in the playoffs since 19... Oh, God. Re-rack. Sorry, guys.
All good.
It's not all good.
Let me know. You ready?
Let's start back. My bad, guys.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Back here on Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. It's 80s week for Cubs Classics on Marquee Sports Network. Monday, it's the NL East clincher, Cubs, Pirates. Then on Tuesday, it's the first installment of Night Baseball at 1060 West Addison. That's 1988. And then we close it out with a trio of games from 1989. Wednesday, it's Greg Maddux versus Oral Hershiser. Thursday, Andre Dawson with some late-game heroics versus Cincinnati. And Friday, watch the Cubs battle back from 9 runs down against the Houston Astros. The series is presented by Prevagen with a new game each weeknight at 7 Central right here on Marquee Sports Network. And back here with Bruce, Len, and Matt. And guys, that 1984 team, well, it was the first team in the postseason in 39 years. So, Bruce, what was it about that squad that made them so special?
Well, the great trades that Dallas Green made going into that season, bringing in Sarge Matthews and Denier, and then, of course, pulling the trigger on Eckersley. But the granddaddy of them all was the trade for Rick Sutcliffe, Joe Carter, Mel Hall, a couple other guys going in that deal. Sutcliffe goes 16-1. He's on the hill for that clincher in Pittsburgh that you talked about. Other pitchers have had great years. Hardly any could match what Sutcliffe did for that team. So the energy all came from the new guys coming in, the young guys building up. It was some magic and a team that probably should have gone to the World Series and had a great World Series against the Detroit Tigers that year.
Yeah, Bruce, I agree with you. I think the in-season acquisition of Rick Sutcliffe, one of the great summer trades, not only in Cubs but in Major League history. The 84 Tigers actually kind of reminded me of the 2016 Cubs. It kind of felt like it was their year. They went 35-5 to start the season. But as you guys know, in a short series, anything can happen. And to have the Cubs, Wrigley Field, the Tigers, and Old Tiger Stadium, that would have been a fun one.
Dallas Green, there really hadn't been anybody with the Cubs in terms of an executive maybe ever. So all those trades that you guys mentioned, also Scott Sanderson in there, really revamped 3/5 of the rotation and culminating with Sutcliffe on the fly. And he goes 16-1 with an ERA under 3. Unbelievable. But it's really how the whole thing played nationally. You had Harry Carey, daytime baseball, nationally on cable. A lot of kids coming home being able to watch the Cubs, and Van Halen's Jump. That song will always remind me of 1984, and the 1984 Cubs will always remind me of that song. Forever inextricably linked.
Yeah, and if we can get that DeLorean, all we have to do is go back to 1984 because the Cubs, they won the first 2. All they needed to do was win games 3, 4, or 5 against San Diego, and they were in like Flint. Now, more to come right here on Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. And riddle me this. Could the Cubs have a better lineup next season without making any moves, essentially? We'll discuss that and more right here on the show. Don't touch that dial.
Good job, guys. Last segment
Hey,
here.
Malik.
Good stuff. Yep. What's up, Lynn?
Can I go last here? And I just want to make a little quick 10-second aside kind of as my last thing of the day. So if I could just have the last word, I'll be very quick.
You got it.
And I won't give it away. We'll keep it organic.
Diva.
Okay.
Wow. Whatever Mr. Casper wants, sir.
So for this, Cole, we're just coming in and we're going to hear a sound, an in bump from one of the kids from the kids convention asking Schwarber
Yep.
about, wanting to hit, and then you just real quick tee up the guys. Let's just go in this order. We'll go Matt, Bruce, Lynn. But guys, you guys are all going to have about 20 seconds here, and then Lynn, feel
Okay.
free to also do
I'll
what
make
you
it
need to
quick.
do. So Matt, go about 20, Bruce go about 20, and then Lynn, do what you got to do, and then Cole will just wrap it
Okay.
up off of that.
You got it.
Okay, fellas, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, it's time to shut things down here on Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. And that was Kyle Schwarber at Cubs Convention at a kids-only press conference, entertaining the youth of the media. Now, the designated hitter, that would be a universal rule that would be implemented in 2020, both in the National League as well as the American League. So, guys, when it comes to the Cubs benefiting from this DH rule, Matt, what do you think? Is this good or bad?
Kyle Schwarber's time has come, finally, after all these years. Can they trade for Danny Vogelbach again? Can they get him back? But seriously, like maybe Wilson Contreras on days that he doesn't catch to rest his knees a little bit. And it's okay for David Ross to have one thing to make this very weird season easier, if there is one. It's going to be so odd. So let David not have to worry about the pitcher hitting at all.
Well, I look at the advantages of the defense, and with Schwarber out of there, or if you want to move people around as your 26th man, Ian Miller is somebody that we talked about certainly from spring training. So better defense, better offense. It could benefit the Cubs quite a bit going into 2020.
Yeah, I hate to speak for Theo Epstein, but I will. The DH is fine with him. The sooner the better, I think. The Cubs have been built for the American League style for a while. Hey, Cole, before we say goodbye today, just one quick note. We'd be remiss in not mentioning Billy and Shirley Williams. Unfortunately, as you said earlier, Glenn Beckert, Billy's teammate, passed away earlier this week. Great piece in the Sun-Times. I encourage you to read it by Steve Greenberg. They've been married 60 years. Shirley has really been struggling with her health. Billy is at home taking care of her right now. So keep Billy and Shirley in your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, we will keep thinking about Billy and Shirley as the days tick by right here. And until next time, I'd like to thank everybody from the Marquee Sports Network, as well as Bruce, Len, and Matt. We'd like to thank you for tuning in. Cubs 360, presented by Miller Lite. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, you guys are clear for the day.